Our guest today, our visiting executive, is Daniel Henry. And if you see his name tag, it says Danielle, but it's not really that Danielle. It's actually Daniel Henry. He's Senior Vice President and Global Chief Information Officer for the McDonald's Corporation. He's responsible, and you'll hear more about it, for the global technology portfolio at McDonald's, ranging from restaurant and digital technologies to the infrastructure and technology platforms that support his business. We'll learn more about his background, his professional background, but he has more than 20 years of experience in large-scale product development and management, e-commerce, application development, architecture, infrastructure, and operations. He comes to McDonald's from American Airlines, where he was responsible for all airport and customer-facing technologies for the airline. He's responsible for American's loyalty platform and for enterprise data, working alongside partners across the organization in operations, marketing, and beyond. An incredible background in his corporate background. Now we're going to learn about McDonald's. Dan Henry.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be in Dallas. I'm from Dallas originally, and so it's always great to get back to Texas. So let me start with, I'm not an expert in McDonald's. I've been at McDonald's for 4 months, and my job is really to help transform the company through technology, and really helping McDonald's become a technology company. I know that sounds like a buzzword or a buzz phrase, but the transformation that we're on at McDonald's is about technology. It's about driving growth of a better McDonald's through technology. And so my responsibility, really break it down into 4 main parts. So think of it, when you think of a restaurant, think of in front of the counter, and then behind the counter. And then think of corporate. And so when you think about in front of the counter, and you think about all the technology that it takes to run a great restaurant. So this is around the digital transformation that we're going through. It's about deploying kiosks. Interesting fact about kiosks. So a lot of people would think, well, why are you deploying kiosks at a restaurant? It's fast. Or it happens quickly. Just to give you some perspective, when you're in front of, and when you're talking to one of the McDonald's great employees that are sitting there taking your order, and you're looking up at the menu, you feel pressured. You feel like, all right, I got to hurry because you got people behind you. But as we've deployed kiosks across the world, we've actually seen the average check size go up, actually substantially, because they feel like that they're in control. The customer's in control of their own experience. That we're seeing that we're selling more. We're seeing that with technology, we can actually entice someone to buy something that they may not know that they want to get. So we can bring in a lot of elements around. We have data that says, and I'm sort of making this up, if you buy a Big Mac and it's 32 degrees outside, there's a good chance you want to buy an apple pie. So let's incentivize someone to buy an apple pie. So we're seeing technology in front of the counter as far as kiosks, as far as being able to do more on your mobile app. Really, when you talk about the drive-through, enhancing the drive-through so we can do suggestive selling. So putting more of the digital capabilities outside. So we're doing that. And then when you think about at the counter, really what are we doing to help our great employees do their jobs better, make it more rewarding for them? So when you talk about our point of sale systems, you're talking about just giving them the ability to have that flexibility to help the customer. So we're working on technology related to that. And then when you think behind the counter, you think about all the technology it takes to actually run the kitchen. And so you see, if you go to McDonald's, you see a lot of the monitors that really helps the restaurant become more efficient. And then all the back office capabilities So the owner of the restaurant can run a great restaurant. So we provide the technology for that. And we do that for about 35,000 restaurants across the world. And then when you think about just running it from a corporate perspective, all the infrastructure that is needed and the systems needed for HR, finance, to just run a good business at McDonald's. So I have that responsibility as well. And then think about, we have thousands of projects going on across the world at any given time. And so it is critical that you have a global project management office. And they sit in my organization as well. And you can't forget about information security. Wow. And so that sits under me as well, because we were talking about at the table, our brand is one of our most critical assets that we have. But it's also a little bit of a liability. And what I mean by that is, being a global brand, a lot of the bad guys want to get in. And we have a lot of touch points within a restaurant that we have to fortify. So I'll give you an example. We are rolling out 25,000 digital menu boards outside. So if you go to a drive-through, you have those old plastic placards that you can look at and say, hey, I want a number 2. Well, we're changing that to be all digital. So it's going to be state-of-the-art, where now we can do that suggested selling through a drive-through. There's just one problem. We're now giving a bad guy another way to get into a restaurant, because that's an active connection into our world. And so we have to be really, really good about security. So security sits under me, and it's an everyday challenge.
So you said technology.
Now, I wonder if we're causing that.
Yeah, with that. All right. Let's start local and go back to global, because you really did that. So, I have, in the Neely School, we have 4 full-time information technology staff members who keep things going. So in a restaurant, now when you describe all the technology in a local restaurant, who maintains that? You don't have IT staff hired just to do that, do you, in a local restaurant, or do you?
There's many different models for that, and we work closely with our great owner and operators of the restaurants. And so we have a couple of ways. One is we actually work with the restaurant owner and help train individuals that are in their organization to be that on-site technical person. And we actually have about 6,000 of those those on-site staff that we actually bring them to Hamburger University in Chicago and help train them. And because if you think about where we're going with technology, we need more people on the front line helping. And so, how do you deal with when a kiosk runs out of paper? Simple things. Or more complex when you do, we're in the United States, we're going through a complete Wi-Fi renovation. We're working with AT&T. And so when you go into a restaurant, which, any given night, you shut it down for 4 to 5 hours, then to change the complete network, and then you bring it back up, you need to make sure things are working. And the restaurant has the best purview for that. So we help train those individuals at Hamburger University and help them understand what we're looking for, our standards, and then that allows them to really help the restaurant owner bring their restaurants up after we implement technology, because we're constantly changing the technology in a restaurant. And I'd like to be the first one to say that everything works perfectly, but I think we're finding out today that doesn't happen. Yeah. So we rely heavily on the restaurant owners and their staff to help us be the eyes and ears. And we have a global help desk that they can communicate with that can help troubleshoot if it exceeds their capabilities. And so then they get access into very capable people at the corporate headquarters.
So talk a little bit about the way McDonald's as a corporation is organized. You have individual operators. And so how do they link into kind of connect with you in terms of your responsibilities and your responsibilities to them? How does that work?
So there's about 35,000 restaurants across the world, 14,000 restaurants in the United States. So the United States is the largest market for McDonald's. And when you think about owner-operators, and I think we have a couple of them here today, there's about, this is a pretty close number, about 2,500 owner-operators in the United States. And they have a leadership team. They're well organized. They have, for different regions of the United States, they have people that they've elected to represent them with corporate headquarters, to make sure that, really to play that advisory role for us, to help us ensure that what we're doing is helping them grow their business. Because at the end of the day, that is really our number one objective, is to help them grow their business. It's a very competitive world, and we're helping them win. And so, but they're helping us. They're the ones that are helping us with how we advertise. They're helping us, and as we roll technology out, we have a group called the Restaurant Technology Board that is made up of a number of owner-operators in the United States that provide us feedback, play that advisory role, and where we're helping and sometimes where we're not helping, so we can provide the best assets for them. So we're very close to them.
So when you think about, again, moving kind of locally, begin to move globally, if you will, the supply chain. So what kind of feedback mechanism? So you now presumably could have technology that can help you even look at customer satisfaction, monitor what customers are buying. So how does that affect what you offer? What am I going to see at McDonald's when I'm there as a result of your work?
Well, one thing that we don't lack at McDonald's is data. We have a tremendous amount of data across the world. The challenge that we have with data is actually making it tell us a story that we want to hear. And so when you think about the technology that we're putting in place around helping that data become an asset for us versus not doing much for us. So when I talked about suggestive selling, it's looking at the data and looking at how our customers are interacting with us, so we actually can provide a better experience for them. How do we personalize that experience? And that data feeds into our CRM capability. So we're rolling out a new CRM capability. So how do we personalize that experience for our customers, which makes it easier for our employees, because then it's very engaging. And then how do we use that data with our mobile apps? How do we use that data with our kiosks? How do we use that data with our digital menu boards, so we can actually make it more convenient for our customers? And because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, make it more convenient. And by using all this data and using it in a way that can actually tell a true story is the challenge. Because again, you can imagine, going back to our scale is massive, and trying to get the data in a place where it actually is consistent. Because I know it may be hard for you to believe, but we have the challenge where the data that comes from Australia looks different than the data that comes from France, and what comes from Germany. So we have this challenge of normalizing that data so we can create that consistent experience across the globe.
Interesting. Cybersecurity was interesting when you talked. Say a little bit more about that. Obviously, I get the entry points. What kind of concerns do you have? Is it your competitors who are trying to learn something about what you do? Is it evil people from the outside that are, what are the real concerns about that entry point?
It's all the above. We're with our brand, we're always on the defense. And just to give you an example, so when we rolled out Apple Pay a few years ago, what we did is we created another touch point into in our ecosystem. And I think this went dead. Oh, there it is. So if you think about a Target, so I think everyone knows what happened to Target, where they were breached and it really hurt their brand. Well, we have many more touch points out there that it's very easy for an hacker to get in, or to put a skimmer in a cashless device. And so we're obviously very concerned just in our scale of making sure that we're fortifying all those touch points. Is this working now? So fortifying those touch points and making sure that we're staying close to that community. We're very close with the FBI because they play a big role for us in the United States. We're very close to the other agencies around the world because they're the best eyes and ears for us. And so we're very close with them. We're part of the communities that are helping us, but also, we are anonymous on the dark web because we want to make sure that if there's something happening, that we're doing our best to stay in front of it. But reality is, I've learned this over time. It's not a matter of if they get into your network; it's a matter of when. And I'm, not to make everyone feel bad, they're in our networks now. It's just that's how it works. And so you do your best to keep them out, but we spend more time on preparing for if we identify them, how do we extract them quickly? And so we have a world-class security team that is very focused on that every single day.
So different kind of question for you. I was watching some news station recently, and CEO of Goldman Sachs was on, and he said that we really are a technology company who happen to work in the financial services industry now. So are you a technology company that happens to work in the food industry now? Or are you a food industry that uses technology to help the food product?
Well, you're talking to the CIO, so I think we're a great technology company. So yeah, I think when you look at the investments we're making with the company, we're going through a transformation, and I'm no stranger to a transformation. So I spent a lot of time, my last 17 years, I spent at American Airlines. And I joined American at probably the most challenging time. I joined in April of 2001. And so I was there 5 months, and the airline industry just changed. For obvious reasons. And so we had to reinvent ourselves. And we spent the next 12, 13, 14 years reinventing ourselves, surviving. And then we went through bankruptcy. So that was another transformation. And then if that wasn't enough, then we decided to do a merger. And let me be the first one to say, I've been in this industry. I've been in healthcare. I've done a lot. There's nothing more challenging in the technology industry than doing a merger with another airline. You're talking about thousands of systems, bringing them together. And if you think about American and U.S. Airways, you couldn't have put two opposite companies together. If one went left, we went right. They went up, we went down. And so you had to reinvent yourself there. And I like to say, as part of the merger, American established themselves as a technology company. And so I took those learnings and I took those to McDonald's. So we went through a turnaround plan. We are on the other side of that turnaround plan. We're in a growth plan now. But the fact is, there's never been more spending happening in technology than it's happening today at McDonald's. So there is a massive investment. You think about the digital transformation that McDonald's is going through. It's all about growing the company. And so I like to say, and our teams like to say, that the growth of McDonald's is going to happen through technology. So I think we're a technology company. And that transformation, and we were talking about it a little bit at the table, we're taking it so serious, we're actually changing the address on the building. So we're headquarters of McDonald's is in Oak Brook, Illinois. Suburb, very established. You can imagine communities have been built around the McDonald's headquarters. In May of this year, we're moving our headquarters downtown Chicago. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is we need to approach our jobs differently. And moving headquarters is going to allow us to do that because, first of all, we're in 3 or 4 different buildings across Oak Brook, and we're now going to be in one building. And so it's going to allow us to collaborate differently. It's going to allow us to just work differently. And technology is at the core of that, how we're doing video, how we're doing that new office space. So technology is there. We're also going to be able to attract different talent to McDonald's. One thing that I have quickly realized is I don't think people realize how advanced McDonald's is when it comes to technology. And by moving downtown, being able to attract that younger talent, a lot of folks that go to TCU, hopefully we become very attractive for the next generation that's coming into the workforce. And we believe moving downtown gives us that capability. Because I'm a big believer that when we bring in new talent, younger talent out of the colleges, out of the universities, I promise you I will learn more from you than you will from me. You work differently. You think differently. And the way you think, the way you work is where we need to go. And the best way to do that is hire really good people from the universities that can help us. And that's what we're going to do.
Okay. So we took our students to Hamburger University several times, and I think probably most of the world have heard of Hamburger University, but talk to us briefly about what that is and why that's so important. It was pretty unique in corporations, but what does Hamburger University do, and how does it fit into what your responsibilities are?
Sure. So Hamburger University is really the core fabric of learning at McDonald's. We have 7 facilities across the world. We have a couple that are virtual as well. And this is where we're really helping, first, our owner-operators know how to run a really good restaurant. This is where we bring in their staff, teach them on the processes, teach them on the technology, just to teach them how to run a really good restaurant. And us being a global company, we do that in 20 different languages. We really prepare people in my opinion, for just life. You know, how to be a good leader. And obviously the desire is that these are folks that are going to continue to grow within the McDonald's family. But reality is, some will move on, but we take pride in helping them in developing their leadership skills, help them develop in running a good business. We just like it to be a restaurant, but running a good business. And we see great rewards from that. And that Hamburger University is actually also moving downtown with us. And so technology is playing a big role in helping, as I'm sure here at TCU, technology plays a big role in how people are learning. And we're taking advantages of the latest technology to do that. For the technology organization specifically, I talked about the technology personnel that restaurant have on their staff. We train them, and we do that at Hamburger University. We see about 6,000 or so come through there, and we believe that it's a forum in which we can get closer to them and they get closer to us, because as I said before, we learn just as much from them as they do from us, and Hamburger University helps facilitate that.
Okay. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll open it for some questions from the audience. So every company and organization has an experience. McDonald's has an experience, and I think we all experience McDonald's. If you have grandkids, you experience in certain ways. If you have If you're rushing through to grab a sandwich on the way to another meeting, you experience in a different way. But as you think about the experience of McDonald's, what does that mean to the corporation, and what does it mean to you? How will technology affect the experience that the consumer is going to have?
Yeah, so the experience that we're going for is convenience. It's choice. So, we can roll out the best mobile app. We can roll out the best kiosk. We can roll out the best digital capabilities. But really, at the end of the day, we're fast at what we do. So it's all about convenience. So it's before you go to a restaurant. So you're leaving TCU, and you say, I want McDonald's. Pull up your mobile app. You order on your mobile app, and then as you approach McDonald's, we have technology called geofencing. So we know when you get on property, and we alert you. We say, hey, we see that you're on property. How would you like for us to serve you? Do you want to go through the drive-through? Do you want to go inside? Do you want us to bring it to curbside? So we know that you're on site. And so we give you that convenience of you deciding how you want to interact with us. If you decide, I want to go inside, press a button, and by the time you walk in, your food's sitting on the counter, just go sit down. Or you can say, bring it out to me. I want to do curbside. So you go park in a spot, say I'm in spot number 3, a few minutes later, your food comes out. And you would say, well, okay, that's great. But think about when you're sitting in your car and you're waiting for your food, that gives you time to do your email, it's time to get your kids in order or whatever. So it's convenience for you, and that's really what we're after, is creating that experience where it's all about convenience. It's not about speed, it's about convenience. And we think that if we do that well, you're going to visit us more, you're going to be more loyal as far as bringing your friends. We think you will spend more with us, and the best part is our owner-operators benefit from that, and that's really what we're trying to do from a technology perspective.
Interesting. Questions from the audience that you have?
We stole all your mics.
There's one here. Brian.
So I think I recall a McDonald's restaurant that's fully automated, or that's an idea that McDonald's is pursuing. To be able to deliver all those different delivery modalities to the customer, curbside, parking lot, or come inside, do you foresee that ultimately McDonald's becomes a laborless producer and then uses humans to interact with the customers?
So the questions, with all the different modalities you've been describing, will McDonald's become a laborless company with that?
Well, I got to be careful because this is our scale. We employ a lot of people. And so the minute I sit here and say we're going to go laborless, we're going to make a lot of people nervous. I don't know if we'll go laborless. We want to change the experience for the employee. And so we are, but there's no doubt there is a labor issue across the world. It's hard to attract because it's, minimum wages are growing. There's more options. I mean, a person can just go start driving a car and make money. And so the competition to attract really good talent is becoming harder and harder. So that means we need to get better at how do we help our owner-operators run a really good restaurant, and automation plays a key role in that. One of the things that we have that I think is very unique is we have this innovation center in Chicago, and it's made up of, I don't even know how many different types of kitchens that they are. At headquarters alone, we have 5 different kitchens that people are testing different things. Some are testing food, some it's testing automation. And so our desire is around how do we make that employment better, which means that you have more interaction with our customers. But at the same time, it's driving that convenience. How do we drive more automation and more choice for our customers. So we're investing heavily in technology to help with automation, and we got a lot of great partners. I spent a lot of time with Microsoft. I spent a lot of time with AT&T. I spent a lot of time with Amazon on helping us figure out what's the next capability. We have an exclusive deal with Uber to do Uber delivery at McDonald's, and so the other challenge we have is not a lot of people. We're starting to see less and less people come to restaurants. It doesn't mean less and less people using McDonald's, but people are now using the delivery because that's what they want. That's convenient. So we're embracing that, and we think technology is going to play a big role in that convenience factor in automation.
Question back there, in the back.
Yeah. I think it's probably the middle of the night in China right now, and I suspect there are thousands of young entrepreneurs in China laying awake right now trying to figure out a way to knock McDonald's out of your dominant position in fast foods. How do you meet that type of a global threat?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, I think that's when we think about being a franchisor and a franchisee. If you think of China, we have this unique relationship where our relationship is actually China they have owners that really own a different type of experience than an owner here in the United States. For example, McDonald's is actually considered a real estate company, if you think about it. We own all the land, or we lease the land, and we partner well with our owner-operators, but we select where it's the best place to put a location, and because we have that reach, we have that capability. But when you think of like a country like China, that's very difficult for us to do. So we actually rely on a different type of model where we really look to them. You own the land, you own all the capabilities related to McDonald's, and we provide the brand. And so we really rely on a local presence in places like China, like Japan, because we believe they know that landscape better than us, and that allows them to compete well with all the entrepreneurs that are sitting there thinking about what's the next competition for McDonald's. The good part about McDonald's is we got brand recognition, and our owners do a great job of leveraging that. So we use that brand, but we use that local presence to help us with that competition. And we're smart enough to know that we have to compete differently in China than we do in other places of the world. So we have many models to help us do that.
A question over there? Other questions? Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Kind of related to his question, what kind of market share does McDonald have both domestically and internationally? And also, looking forward, your expansion, is it mostly going to be domestically or internationally?
Actually, I don't know the answer to the market share. I probably should, but I don't. As far as expansion, so there's really 4 markets within McDonald's. There's the U.S. market, which is the largest market for McDonald's. There's another market that's called international lead market. So that's Australia, France, the U.K., Germany, Canada. And then there's the third market is what we call high growth markets. That is like the Japans, the Chinas, the Latin Americas. Then we have foundational, which are the smaller Poland's, Dubai's, things like that. When you think about expansion, it's really going to happen in the foundational and high growth and some in the international lead markets. There's not a lot of expansion in the U.S. Just because it's fairly saturated. We are. I would say that we're probably not opening up a lot of new restaurants. We're moving restaurants to better places. But so most of our expansion is happening internationally, not U.S.
So,
But I'll find out that question. That's a good question about the market share. I probably should know that.
integrated supply chains are so important for companies, and we know stories obviously of communication companies where marketing folks went one direction and the technology wasn't quite ready to match what they wanted to do. So when you think about, and again, your role, you talk about kind of Uber delivery, you talk about curbside parking. I mean, there are some very practical things like packaging. How do you keep the food warm? How do you do all those kinds of things? So how does your supply chain become integrated? Are you responsible for integrating the whole thing? Is there a supply chain group that you work with? How does that all work within?
So I look after the technology for supply chain. As far as, so we have a senior leadership team at McDonald's, and that senior leadership team represents all of the major functions. So supply chain sits on the leadership team, technology sits on the leadership team, marketing, I couldn't agree more. Marketing is probably the biggest pain in the butt for me from a technology perspective. So if you can fix that, that'd be great. They're very demanding. So the good part is we stay very connected at the senior leadership team level, making sure that we're aligned. I've seen it where when you're not aligned, you have competing interests, you're going in different directions and it becomes very dysfunctional. With the senior leadership team and the way we're structured, Steve doesn't allow that to happen, our CEO. So we're very connected. So as we are looking at when we introduce technology, there's no doubt that we introduce a lot of strain on the operations of a restaurant. You hit on one perfectly. When we do Uber delivery, one of the biggest, there's two complaints about Uber delivery. One is my order's not correct, and the second is it's cold. And so we're implementing technology to ensure that when that Uber driver arrives at a restaurant, that we are ensuring that the order is correct. And so we're helping with technology there. When it comes to supply chain and when it comes to delivery, as far as packaging, we're working with our supply chain on, especially when you talk about the restaurant, how do we put the right warmers in place? How do we make that flow within a restaurant efficient enough, but also make sure that when a product reaches our customers, it is meeting their it's satisfying to them. So we're very close with all of those different entities, but there's no doubt that as technology is introduced, we create some strain on the operations, and the good part is we're connected and we're focused on that convenience and that experience that I think we're aligned. So we're not going to always get it right. I'll be the first one to admit. We're not always going to get it right, but I can assure you that we're always focused on it.
Okay. Other questions here?
Hey. So first off, I tried your new chicken strips, and they're fantastic. The buttermilk chicken strips.
I got a story about that. So before you ask your question, so not to interrupt, but I talk a lot about scale, and so one of the challenges that we have. You're not going to ask me about the sauce, are you?
No sauce question.
Okay, I got it. So one of the challenges I think is fascinating is as the marketing team started to advertise more about the chicken tenders, the buttermilk, we actually ran out of chicken. We actually put a strain on the entire chicken industry because people liked them so much. So that's where scale play is with you and against you. So I found that interesting that the chicken companies were saying, Uncle.
Yeah, I put it on my Instagram stories and shared it with 12,000 people. But I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, and I had my birthday parties at McDonald's. I remember the flavor and the taste of the frosting. It was kind of crunchy. I don't know if anybody else had their birthday parties there. And I also am a mom of 4. And one of the things you're bringing up with convenience, I think, is laudable, but and not to compare you to another restaurant, but they definitely, and the idea of playgrounds and taking care of moms means a lot to your customers. But you talk about technology and being a technology company, and I think ahead, and what does that mean? Is it predictive human behavior? You're going to know what I want before I get there, and you've got a CRM, you've got me programmed with everything I've ordered, you know I've got 4 kids, but you didn't bring up experience in one of the things that you, not experience as far as technology goes, but just the human's experience. And it just is a little scary when you think about the future, when you're kind of rooted before the digital age, where my generation comes from. So even thinking about the founders or the Facebook and Google kind of lamenting the things that they've developed because of the addictiveness of it. And so how is McDonald's addressing the human experience with your restaurant?
That's a great question. So there's a couple. When we talk about what we call the velocity plan to move McDonald's, technology plays a big role in the velocity plan. But there's a lot of other things that are associated with that. So I talked about the technology. There's also a very large initiative within McDonald's called Experience of the Future. And this is about how do we renovate our restaurants for that experience, around table service, around the playgrounds. Some of our restaurants are dated, so how do we go back in and in some places tear them down and rebuild them again, to understand that, I talk about convenience, but when you talk about loyalty, it's also that you're engaging and you created that experience that people want to experience every time. So there is a part of the velocity plan is this thing called Experience of the Future. Technology plays a role in that, as we talked about with kiosks and we talked about with the digital menu boards, but it's also what the facility itself will offer. Again, it's not a technology play, but table service. So mom of 4, trying to keep, herd the cats, and as you're trying to order, we'll go to the kiosk, order, then get a number, then go sit down, we'll bring it to you. To help with that experience, because it just allows you to have a good experience, but it's also convenient for you. Have the playground. So that is happening in addition to everything I talked about with technology. Couldn't agree more.
So I'm going to ask a different question. Believe it or not, my watch broke at 6:59. It actually stopped. I have no idea what time it is.
15 till 9.
15 till 9. Okay, so we have.
Mine broke too.
Okay, so we're so other questions here. I do want to ask. Is there one over here? Okay, go ahead.
I have a quick question. Having traveled in Europe the last few summers, I've noticed that in your locations in Europe, you guys have a kiosk set up which has the ability to do multiple language, which is fantastic. In some of the countries I'm in, I don't speak the language, and sometimes I get a surprise when I get it on the counter, so thank you for that. But one of the questions I have for you is, I would have expected you to roll that out into the United States as well. We have a lot of visitors from Europe and other countries. Is there some reason that hasn't been rolled out into the U.S. as well?
It's happening now. There's no doubt that the early adoption of kiosks happened in international, but now we are rolling out about close to 20,000 kiosks in the United States. We're doing that now. I think we're I wouldn't quote me on this number, but about 1,000 restaurants, and we have a very aggressive plan to make that happen throughout 2018. So when we talk about experience of the future, part of that experience of the future is to roll out the kiosks, to roll out the digital menu boards, and so we're very aggressive in doing that in the United States right now.
So we have I know some of our students are here. So how many of our MIS or BIS students, raise your hand back there. Wow, cool. Wonderful.
First of all, I can't believe you're here so early.
Yeah, it's great. So,
Well, let me ask you this: how many people in the audience worked at McDonald's?
there we go. Yeah,
That's actually surprising to me.
yeah.
A lot of places I go, it's been part of, as people who grew up, they were part of McDonald's. And the great thing that I hear is it's helped them with that discipline. It's helped them with that work ethic. Because there's a few things that when I think of McDonald's that comes to mind. First of all, there is a extreme loyalty to the brand. What you'll find when you talk to owner-operators and you talk to folks that, especially with owner-operators, these are generational. These restaurants have been passed down generation to generation. People, and when you talk to people, you'll hear, I started 15 years old, and now I'm an owner of 10 restaurants. We work with a lot of small business owners that are very successful. And play a big role in making McDonald's successful. But what I've noticed is it has been extreme loyalty to the brand and commitment. That commitment to the customer, commitment to their employees. And so when I ask that question, you typically see more hands. So it's concerning to me. So everyone go work at McDonald's, please.
So for all those students who are out there, your elevator pitch about why they should work for McDonald's in your area, and what should be their elevator pitch for them to successfully have you hire them?
Well, I would start with we're a global company. We have opportunities across the world, and every day is a unique challenge. At McDonald's, from the projects that we're implementing, from the interactions we have with our customers, the interactions we have with our owner-operators, the interactions we have with our business stakeholders. It is a challenge every single day. You will be challenged every single day. Second, you will make a difference at McDonald's. It is a large brand, but a small family. And you will have a direct influence on the success of what happens at McDonald's. We are transforming. We will learn more from you than you will learn from us. And you have an opportunity to directly influence the direction that we go as a company. And last is it's really good food.
Their elevator pitch to get you to hire them.
Just show up. We are, to me, it's about, one of the things that I did when I first joined McDonald's is I put together what's called a user manual. And so if you think about a user manual, so when you buy a car, if you don't read the user manual, which I'm sure half of you don't, you sit there and take the first couple months to play around with different things of the car, and then eventually you figure out how to operate the car. But if you actually read the user manual, you could fast forward and you could probably learn a lot about the car in the first day. So when I joined McDonald's, I put a user manual together for me, and I sent it out to the entire organization to fast forward their learning about me. And so there's a couple things that I stressed. First of all, I am not a detailed PowerPoint guy. If you hand me a PowerPoint presentation more than 4 pages long, I'm kicking you out, because that tells me that we're going to read a presentation versus have a conversation. I'm all about having a conversation. I'm all about having debate. My number one expectation is if you're in the room, contribute. You're there for a reason. I want to hear what you have to say. There is no, I don't believe in positional authority. When I'm sitting in a room, I have the same, my vote counts the same as your vote. So contribute to the conversation. And so the way their elevator pitch to me is that they're going to contribute, that they're going to debate, they're going to help move the decision process forward. There is no worse thing than not making a decision, in my opinion. You have to make a decision. We can't fix a no decision. I can fix a bad decision. I can't fix a no decision. So someone coming up to me saying, we're going to move, we're going to make decisions, I'm going to contribute, I'm going to debate, I'll probably hire that person on the spot.
Dan Henry, thank you so much. We look forward to what you're going to bring to McDonald's. It's been a great company for a long time, and you bring a lot of experience, and it's going to be fun to see how it changes over time.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the invite. And I know there's a lot of students here. I have a lot of free coupons for McDonald's, so come find me. You can enjoy a meal. I appreciate you having me here.